In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.
Welcome to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. I am Amit. That is LC. That is KDot. It is good to see you all, and thank you for joining us. This is a special rugby episode. Major League Rugby, MLR, is starting up in just around 10 days or so. And so LC is going to give us a preview of Major League Rugby, but more specifically, Old Glory DC. So we're excited to talk to you guys about that. And after the rugby talk, we are going to engage in a no-hate debate. Who is the most influential, non-American in the United States? And so that's going to be the question. Athlete, more specifically, athlete. None of this like, Barack Obama, check the birth certificate. We're talking about athletes here, just to be clear. Okay, so most influential non-American athlete in the United States participating in like the NBA or the NFL, you name it. Okay. And then we're going to conclude with the State of the Union, your DC Sports Wraparound coverage segment. LC, once again, thanks for the clarification on athlete there. Why don't we go ahead and begin with rugby? So, again, the season starts in about 10 days here. February 5th, I believe, is our opener on the road. LC, why don't you take it away? Talk to us about Old Glory, how they did last season, what expectations are this season, stuff like that.
Well, the first update about Old Glory is that I got the shirt, so that's number one.
Okay, there you go.
As part of my Christmas package.
It's a fresh shirt. It's a legit shirt.
It looks really good. Yeah.
So that's the main reason that I'm happy about the team right now. So I got the kit. I'm ready to get started. You said it, February 5th. It's the season opener for the whole league, but it's also for us. So DC will be playing the first game of the season. That'll be a Friday. So probably don't have anything else to do at 7 p.m. in the middle of the winter. So watch the game. Cool thing about rugby that we're going to get into, but all the games on the MLR are free to watch online, streaming devices. Like, you don't even need cable, man. So yeah, we're trying to expand the game and get people to watch it. So season will start February 5th, but we can look a little bit talk a little bit about what the last season was like. We covered them a little bit, I think, at some point near the summer, near the end of the season. A bit of a roller coaster of a season. They started so sort of up and down, winning one, losing one, winning one, losing one, but then went through a really rough stretch right after the mid-season point, where they lost 5 games in a row and sort of lost all chances of being really in contention for the title. So had an okay start and then a really rough mid-season. Ended up on a better note, but definitely not the way that they wanted the season to sort of progress. However, there is a lot of change. The MLR is a young league. Old Glory is a young team, like every team in the league. A lot of players are sort of getting a feel for playing in this league, which has its own things. Even just the fact that a lot of games are played in turf. Like I've played in both, and I would tell you that it's different. But this team that is coming up is a significantly different team. They had a preseason game a couple of days ago against the Toronto Arrows. Didn't go so well. Lost 47-17, but they had, I think there was like 8 new starters out of 15 that was that
Toronto or New England? For some reason, I thought it was New England. Oh, okay.
There's a second preseason game coming up.
Okay.
I had that info somewhere. I think it's this Friday. But yeah, so there's a lot of new players coming in. A couple of important players left. A co-captain left. His name is Mungo Mason. So obviously there's going to be some big changes. The number 10 is changing, which, I'm trying to connect this to other sports. It's not as powerful as a quarterback in football, but it is the man who usually takes the ball first after the first pass when there's a tackle. So there's a tackle. Okay. Number 9 picks up the ball and gives it to number 10 and says, do something with it. So number 10 is a highly influential position. They usually have to be very well-rounded, good with their hands, good with their feet, have some leadership skills, be smart, like have, some high sports IQ. So having that position change is a big deal. Like that is something that everyone has to get used to. They're also bringing in a lot of very young talent. I was just looking at some of the foreign players that they're bringing. There was a sort of like three of them from New Zealand, one of them from Ireland. And their ages, I was just looking at their ages, and they're 24, 22, 21, and 22. So really young players, a lot of talent. A lot of them have played in the under 18, under 20 for their national teams. But obviously, you know, they're young. They're coming into a new league. They're coming into a new team. I think the task is really going to be on the coaching staff on making out of this group of young, talented players a team, and a team that can compete. The other sort of defining factor of last season was that a good chunk of the games were decided by 7 points or less. If you remember the scoring lesson we had a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah.
So if, you know, coming up with those players that can show up at the clutch time and be able to close out those close games will be really important. It's a coin toss. I don't think you can predict with this many new people, with this new leadership. I don't think you can predict how well they're going to do. But I think that's the task really, is to make a team out of this talented pool.
Yeah. Just a couple quick notes on Major League Rugby. As LC had said, very, very young league. So founded in 2017, had its inaugural season in 2018. And then Old Glory, I think, had their very first season in 2020, and it got canceled due to COVID. And I tell you what could have been? I mean, 0-1 and then 4-1, ripped off 4 in a row, and then the season got canceled. So was COVID created to maybe derail Old Glory DC? I don't know. Who's to say? But yeah, this past season didn't go as well as LC had said. But they are, I think Major League Rugby is doing a good job of creating a community around this. They seem very inclusive. I was watching, there's a Rugby 101 video on Major League Rugby's website. Yes. They give you the very basics: 2 40-minute halves, a try is 5 points, penalty kick is 3 points, stuff like that. It's super cool. One of the neat things, Elsie, I was wondering if you knew about this or if it was wrong, but I think at the end of the video, they said, hey, at the end of the game, you know, there's mutual respect between the two teams, of course, like just a typical handshake as you'd see. But then people get together for food and drinks after, including the referee, including the fans. Like, it seems like a very inclusive community.
So that's not an MLR specific thing. That's a rugby thing.
That's amazing.
It's a rugby tradition in Argentina. It's called el tercer tiempo, which means like the third half or the third period. And I've done it in club rugby too, where you like finish the game and you're like, you know, some moms brought some food and like you're sharing it with your opponents, and like the same guy that you were literally pounding to the ground 10 minutes ago, now you're just sharing a beer, sharing some food. Amazing. So it's really interesting because when you think about rugby, like for me, and this is, I think, a big comparison with football, it's that because of how physical it is, you have to have a community that's also about respect. Because if you played a game that's this physical and this dangerous, honestly, with also an ethos of like, I'm going to screw you in every possible way I can, things will get really ugly. Like you will get some real danger because you have bad intentions and a dangerous game. And so I think that there's been this sort of interesting evolution with rugby where like within the 80 minutes inside the field, you are the toughest motherfucker you can be, and you hit as hard as you can. But as soon as either the whistle blows, you know, and the play stop, or we finish the game, it's absolutely water under the bridge. It's done. Best friends, like this, absolutely gone. And it's a culture of respect. And I think that's something super unique. But yeah, that's a rugby wide tradition, not just MLR. So I'm happy that they're keeping it here.
It's actually pretty dope because I mean, NFL, even when you see players jersey swap after the game, I know I don't like it, but there's like this is like this camaraderie aspect where it is. I think the Americanized style of sports is F that guy, knock his head off. But the camaraderie, like especially, I always thought the football needed to remove helmets. I thought the game would be set for that way. And I think in rugby, if knowing that there's a mutual respect thing and a camaraderie makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah. Right. I think it's also really cool that the fans get to be a part of that, right? Because now you are almost meeting your heroes and you're sharing a drink with them and stuff like that. So I think that part is really cool.
It feels like a real we, right? Exactly. Like when we talk about we as like fans and not really, there's this still distance, right? But
So I've been doing a little studying to become a rugby referee. And
Of course.
the thing that's really interesting is that the entire game starts with like the principles of the game. And the principles are like about respect and unity and camaraderie. Like the game is sort of like secondary to this idea of creating a community creating a community, period. So it's honestly, I think if you look, I was just actually rewatching some games, and you can see that like somebody will score a try and the other guy is like patting him on the back, like, like, fine, good job, like, motherfucker, you scored. But like it's still
Right.
there's still this like this respect for each other. Will they get in fights? Of course, like it's sports and they're hitting each other, like that's gonna happen. But once the game's over, it's a different story.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the thing that blew me away at the end of that video. It was like, wait a minute, this is different, because you're still having the competitive spirit, of course, but it seems like the ultimate like sportsmanship sport.
You should see
like that after the fact.
You should see in the World Cup, which is that 2023, I think. Yeah, 2023. But the World Cup, or like even other international contests, a lot of times the losing team that's like eliminated will do like a tunnel at the end of the game, where like if I lost, my team is in two lines, and then we are clapping as the other team walks in between us. And so it's like we are like saying like, congratulations, you guys won. It's like, it's just, I don't know, I would never see a soccer team do that to another team. They would be spitting on the people in the middle. So yeah, it's a different culture, and I really appreciate that.
I just wanted to shout out the Seattle Seawolves, who have 2 titles, so far out of the 3 seasons, and the LA Guiltinis, if I'm saying that correctly.
Oh my God, there's a whole story behind the name.
Yeah. What's
it's
going
a
on
cocktail?
there? Yeah, they're named after a cocktail.
And what the fuck is a seawolf?
People from Seattle that play rugby. Yeah, I don't know how else to define the term seawolf.
You know what? That sounds so natural. I didn't even think about it. You're right. Yeah. What the fuck is a seawolf?
It's literally, I was looking at the logo. That's what I've been over here looking at. I've been trying to figure it out because I like it, but it's a killer whale with sharp, jagged teeth.
We got Sabercats, Free Jacks, Raptors, of course, classic. Arrows, I think, is kind of cool. The Legion. The New Orleans Gold play at the gold mine. I think that's really cool. So like, there's a lot to love about this league, and I'm really glad that we're jumping into this, and I'm looking forward to watching some games, and hopefully they film the third half as well. I'd love to see some of that too. This seems really kick-ass and almost like a gem that needs to be unearthed. I'm really looking forward to seeing some rugby and learning more about it.
That's the main goal. I think right now in the States, the main goal is to expand the visibility, expand the interest. There's a lot of work being done in youth as well.
They're called Young Glory.
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of talk about, like, I'm trying to remember what the word is, but it's not like steering, but it's sort of like giving, kids that you can sort of detect that they have some athletic talent. Kids usually think like, oh, I'm athletic, I may play basketball, I may play football, I may, like they have these options, instead of trying to be like, there's also this thing called rugby.
KDot looks emotionally moved.
Yeah, he does.
What's going on, bud?
There are 2 teams named after cocktails. What the fuck is going on?
That's what I'm saying, man. It's a new wave. Like, this whole thing is incredible.
That's like 20% of the league. It's like
is there the Gilgronis?
The Gilgronis. I missed that in Austin. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
That's some weird shit. I like it.
All the more reason to get into it. I mean, it's cool. I think it's super cool. Any LC, any team in particular outside of Old Glory that you know about as like a favorite or anything like that, or are we just sticking to Old Glory today? We're gonna talk more about rugby anyway.
Honestly, I don't know, and I would think that, like, with this. With the league being so young, and like it's hard to sort of be like a consistent. Obviously, like the Seattle has won 66% of the titles, so that's funny. But like I can see players, like I can see teams who do well, then their players also go find other opportunities, right? Like, gotcha. And we can get into this, but like when a league is not the top, good teams don't last too long, because if you were a good player in a good team, you go find the next opportunity. Like in Argentina, that's what happens with soccer. It's like a good team ends up exporting all their players in that winning team because they're like, oh shit, I won in my league. Now I can get paid more because, I have a better opportunity. So it's tricky. I would think that holding players here will be tricky.
Okay, so it sounds like, and it would make sense because Major League Rugby is so young that, God damn it, KDot, what's going on?
KDot, what are you looking at?
I'm learning so much. So our rivalry team is the Austin Gilgronis.
But
okay.
Go ahead. No, go
ahead.
Right. I'll let you finish.
So I'm looking at, so they have exhibition games that are considered rivalry games, and they all have names. So all the names up until our rivalry with the fucking Gilgronis. So there's the Texas Cup, the Cold War, the Fire and Ice Cup, the California Cup, the Champagne Cup, and then for Old Glory DC versus the Austin Gilgronis, the Cuisine Solutions Cup. What the fuck is that?
There's a lot
That's
to learn.
Money.
It's not just the rules of rugby and stuff like that. It's honestly just like some of these words, some of these names.
But we have to like Jimmy.
This is so dope.
That's what I'm saying. We're just trying to spread the good word, and I think LC's doing a fantastic job of that here.
But hold on, because I know how much you love the Cowboys, Kadeen, especially since what you were saying before we started recording. But there's a new team coming up this season, expansion team, the Dallas Jackals. So if you want to like combine, like a little rivalry, we could co-hate on Dallas teams.
I think Old Glory DC and the Dallas Jackals getting after it could be a lot of fun.
That should be the Cuisine Solutions Cup.
100%. Oh, we'll give it a different name.
Why don't they have the Gilgronis and the Giltinis should totally be fighting, right?
Yeah,
like the cocktails need to be fighting each other. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and you could call it cocktail hour. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you can do with this. I mean,
score a try, take a shot.
There you go. All right, well, we've got ideas. So if MLR wants to reach out to us about some marketing, we're more than happy to help out. The point I was trying to make was, it sounds like, so obviously we wouldn't be like the best league because we've only been around 3-4 years. So this would be similar to like the MLS, for example, where you have a number of good players that maybe sign over here, but the moment they can jump up, they probably will. They probably would go to the Premier League or the Bundesliga or La Liga, stuff like that.
Right. And the idea is, so like, like I said, like they bring other leagues, see this league as like a development league, right? So for example, all these young people that I was telling about coming to Old Glory, like those are teams, those are players that, are here to get more experience, to starting to become, more established, and then they can go and back to their homeland, either New Zealand, Australia. Usually they come from there, or the islands, or like, and so it's sort of like a development league, where I think the MLS sometimes it's more like they import players are like sort of B list in other countries, but will be A list here. Like there's a lot of Argentinian number 10s that come in the MLS that are like, in Argentina, they're like, they're good players, but they're not stars. And then in the MLS are like centerpiece of the team.
I just need to say it because this directly translates. This is how LC described himself coming to DC and playing for our high school team, School Without Walls. He was like, I was all right in Argentina. He's immediately our best player by like a country mile. Like it wasn't even close. It sounds so similar to that.
It's in the past though. But honestly, imagine if you got a kid from like any like park basketball court here that's like, he plays well. You send them to a country where like nobody plays basketball, or like, and they're all of a sudden they're fucking LeBron James over there, right? Like it's just a matter of what's the average. And so
it gives me NFL Europe vibes.
Right. And then we were to send,
there you go,
the players that didn't make it into the NFL to NFL Europe, like they're going to dominate the Europeans that are trying to play. Right.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Okay, cool. Any final thoughts on rugby before we move on to our no hate debate?
I think if you want to look at, you're going to have the MLR start. You're also going to have, I think it's the Six Nations tournament, which is a really interesting one. And so there's a lot of different international tournaments in rugby, starting around the same time. It may start maybe a week after, but the Six Nations is European teams. And that's right, literally on February 5th. So let me get the six. It's Ireland, Wales, Scotland, England, France, and Italy. So all of those teams, maybe Italy is at a bit lower than every other team, but all the other five are like very competitive with each other. Like they're in a very similar level. So all those games should be pretty good. So if you want to watch some international rugby, look at a little bit of more more sophisticated stuff, a little bit faster, you can get to that. But root for Old Glory when you're looking at the MLR for sure.
Yeah, there you go. And so once again, Old Glory DC is at Atlanta. Rugby ATL is the name of the Atlanta team, and it is at Atlanta Silverbacks Park is the name of their stadium or park. So that's February 5th, I believe, 3 p.m. And that should be the opener for Major League Rugby this season. We're looking forward to covering more Old Glory DC and hopefully even reaching out and maybe even getting a player on the pod. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Second preseason game before that is this Friday at 7 p.m. Against the Free Jacks. I'm not sure that you can watch that.
I was going to ask.
I don't think that they've been streaming them. I think they're like playing in an indoor, like an indoor facility. Obviously, like the size is the same, but it's like an indoor facility. But I don't think you can watch the preseason game. But
okay. Hey,
maybe follow it on Twitter.
This is a hell of a lot more information than any other podcast given out right now. So there you have it. Old Glory DC. They play this Friday, Jan 28th against New England Free Jacks, and then against Rugby ATL in the opener February 5th on the road. Moving on to the no hate debate. This is the most influential non-American in a major league right now. LC introduced this to the chat. I thought it was a brilliant idea because we talk about this a bit outside, I get together, stuff like that, but finally time to bring it to the pod. KDot said he had an absolute home run of a pick.
Hold on. I might have misinterpreted something. Is it current? It's current or not all time? I thought we were going all time.
I'll give it to you all time. Because we want your all-time answer. We can't tease that and then not give it.
Sorry.
And then we can switch over to current. Maybe it work that way. So why don't you go ahead and give us your home run, and then we can go to current.
The most influential foreign player in an American sports league is Hakeem Olajuwon, and it's not close. Him coming to the league back when he did, well, not coming to the league, when he decided he was going to go play. What was it, University of Houston or St. Houston, whatever, Houston University, whatever. It changed a lot of the landscape of sports. And I mean, come on, you look at just how many Nigerian descended players really looked up to him as the guy who, Giannis, wait, that's my answer for current, Giannis, because they're part of the same tribe. They're actually part of the exact same Nigerian tribe, the Yoruba tribe. That's influence. And even outside of basketball, Hakeem Olajuwon's nickname was the Dream, like the Nigerian Dream, right? One of the greatest power running backs in the history of the NFL is Christian Okoye, who was called the Nigerian Nightmare as a direct reference to the Dream. They had, you call him the Dream, I'm the Nightmare. There's a commercial where there's this little white kid walks into Christian Okoye, like, is this a dream? No, it's a nightmare. And it's just great shit, right? And you saw about the dude who is arguably, and I think it's like a slam dunk, the second best player of the 90s after Jordan, right? Maybe you give it to Charles if you try a little harder, but Hakeem is the one that got through and got some of those championships around that same era that Jordan was dominating. So there is this, Hakeem he's an all-timer. I even think like most people have Hakeem in the top 10, top 5. And I know LC, I thought we were going all time, so I thought I knew where you were going to go with it. And I'm like, if you're going to say that name in the same sentence as Hakeem Olajuwon, you're out of your fucking mind. He's one of the GOATs. Name somebody more influential than him.
Well, I think LC's about to. Go ahead.
Maybe, how about, for me, it's if he didn't take the history lesson.
Take away all the context he provided.
And you're just going, but like what you watched when you were alive. For me, look, you Google Eurostep, and the first picture is Manu doing his thing, man. The guy brought an entire new move. James Harden's career is owed to Manu Ginobili. And actually, he also ended it on that block that he had on Houston on that final shot. Like the guy, and first, and let me also give a rant here. The fact that they calling it Eurostep when the guy's Argentinian, I know he played in Italy and Ginobili is like Italian. I get that, but like, can you not also like colonize our fucking moves? Like, come on, man. Like he just brought it here, and you're like, oh, call it a European name.
So Manu is the originator of the Eurostep.
No, he's not the originator. That's not what I said. He's the one who brought it to the NBA for good. Apparently, some Croatian, Russian, whatever Eastern European guy did it in like the 80s. And nobody cared. They were like, oh, he's a weirdo. We're not going to copy him. But then Manu brought it and they were like, shit, that looks actually pretty useful.
I'm imagining some Croat Russian guard that Euro stepped a couple times, was a total flame out in the league. But like they were like, oh, well, I guess that was okay. And then Manu does it. And it's like, oh man, remember that Croat Russian that fucking flamed out? He was on to something. And this dude's actually good.
So like, to me, I mean, it changed the way that the people attack the basket. It's people were comparing it to the triple threat. And I was reading on the article that has Manu's drawings of him going through the motion. And I'm not biased on liking Manu at all. This is just an objective assessment.
Yeah, it seems objective to me. Certainly a lot
100%.
More objective than KDot's Hakeem Olajuwon, who, obviously they're tight. He talks about his relationship with Hakeem constantly.
Not from that tribe. I did my 23andMe.
I never said that. I just said you guys were 23andMe.
It's a different tribe. I don't think they liked each other either.
Okay.
When you said current though, I was thinking Giannis, but like, well, first of all, Canadians don't count, right? Like it's just like too similar. Like,
but I don't. The thing to me is influence and like stature and influence. Okay. So like I'm not gonna. So like the greatest shit. Manu was the best foreigner on that goddamn team. The aspect of. Wow. I'm just saying. Wait. You want to talk about Tony Parker? There's some aspect. But like Steve Nash is Canadian, and I want to give Steve Nash props, right? Like it's right. There's a lot of those like. All right, yeah.
Let's say how about this? Just change the prompt to be non-North American.
North American. Okay.
Got it. So I got the answer right twice. It's Giannis and Hakeem.
Right. That was going to be my answer. But then I also thought about it and I don't know. Giannis felt too easy. Obviously, locally, it's going to be Ovechkin. I mean, because his influence in this area, he's totally changed our franchise. He is the absolute face of it, always will be. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. He's going to end up being the goals leader in the National Hockey League. All
teeth
time.
Or no teeth? Like
it don't matter. Okay. No teeth is probably more iconic because when he finally celebrated the number of teeth he got knocked out beforehand. There's
I think
endearing gap.
We were creating one of the thumbnails for the show, and I was looking at Ovechkin pictures and I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy has no teeth.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
They're just all gone.
Dude, living legend. I mean, you talk about maybe not getting together and getting drinks after. Those hockey players have to get the teeth knocked out. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. For me, it's going to be there's the local flavor is Alex Ovechkin because I Go ahead.
I think the NHL doesn't feel American. It feels Canadian. Like it almost feels as though.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? It's like when you have like a foreign it's like, isn't it theirs? Like it's just sort of like this.
Are we the foreigners?
Right. It's like if the Cubans playing baseball, it's like
I see okay. What you're saying. Okay, so let's rule out the NHL. Are we ruling out baseball? Can't be ruling out baseball.
I don't think you can't rule out baseball entirely, but there's enough.
We got a guy named Juan.
But here's a lot of the best. So there's the Cuba connection, but then you have a lot of PR and DR, which is American, basically.
Right.
So it's I wouldn't go there. I'd say baseball is still fair game. Yeah,
baseball still fair game. Okay, yeah. I mean then the local flavors Juan Soto, but. I mean, I would have gone Giannis. Maybe if Luka wins a championship, then you can make a case for Luka because everyone seems to be on his jock. But I still think it's Giannis. Giannis seems to be the most influential player. I wanted to shout out. Now, we had said most influential non-American, maybe non-North American here. But if we were to go across the pond to the Premier League, Mohamed Salah, I think, is the most influential, import anywhere across any sport, in my opinion, because there have been multiple articles about folks in Liverpool who, learned more about Islam and actually reduced their Islamophobia as a whole because Salah playing so well for them made them want to learn more about him. And so it actually is a really cool sort of societal, like, wow. So Salah is providing the service to them, of course, but because they love him so much, because he's endeared himself to Anfield so much, that people are actually learning about religion and actually learning about what Islam's about, as opposed to just the stereotypical stuff that you potentially see, the fear-based stuff you'll see in the news and stuff like that. So I think his impact actually probably saving lives and potentially reducing hate crimes. Mohammed Salah would have been the runaway answer for doing this across the planet, in my opinion. I think he's the clear winner to me. Current.
That's pretty cool.
Right, current.
Because I think Hakeem was an excellent point. I really do. But yeah, so those were my answers. I guess I went Ovechkin, Soto, Mo Salah, if I were allowed to go across the pond.
So all we know is that the answer was not Manu.
Well, I thought LC did such a great job. I didn't want to just piggyback. Like, that just seems cheap.
Look, you don't even have to stop the video. Open a new tab and Google Eurostep, and the first image that shows up is Manu.
So I legit, so in this, I have a tab open that says who invented the Eurostep. Manu's name wasn't there, but I know. You play right. Yeah, there's a bunch of like pencil drawings of Manu doing the Eurostep.
Oh boy,
Washington Street Journal.
Oh, then we have another guy who's probably more influential than Manu, and he's doing the Eurostep one, which is Dirk Nowitzki.
Hey, Dirk's ring, unbelievable run in that playoffs for him.
That is true.
I mean, that was something else against that Heat as well. Oof, that was a heavy ring. Anyway, let's jump over to State of the Union and conclude the show, your DC Sports wraparound coverage segment. LC in our group chat had, sent the TikTok of the Wizards kids. The kids of some of the
cutest fucking thing ever.
This is the cutest thing ever. Except
Did you hear
the fact
Spencer?
That I'm pretty sure that was the Boston game that preceded it, and we lost by 30. So I don't want to see him anymore. Not on the big screen. If they're sitting up front, fine. Let's test out how we do against maybe a lesser opponent. If we win the game, the kids can keep coming. But I got
now we should do like the opposite. So just do like a Festivus. So like family just saying grievances about the players before the game.
Yeah, exactly.
See if that just flips
see how
the
they
script.
play. See how they play. Exactly. But jokes aside, the Wizards on a 3-game losing streak right now. Not great. Not great, especially because one of those losses, well, two of them, Raptors, Celtics.
That all-star break,
we've had some success against them. Yeah, we really need that. Really need that. And it's not necessarily news at this point, but having Rui Hachimura back, having Thomas Bryant back is great. And so it is still Wes Unseld Jr.'s first season in charge. True. And so there's still lots of reasons for optimism, and the team is continuing to gel. Kyle Kuzma's been great throughout the season. Harrell coming off of COVID. I'm still personally quite excited about the rest of the season. We're currently in 10th place in the East. What do you guys think about the Wizards so far? And moving forward, next 3 games, by the way, Clippers, Grizzlies, Bucks, not exactly easy. LC, how about you?
What? I missed the question.
Thoughts on the Wizards moving forward?
Oh, thoughts on the Wizards. Yeah, please bring the All-Star weekend. I mean, I think, there was a insanely hot start. And then a back to normal, and then probably like a mid-season blues that we're seeing. It's going to be challenging. So hopefully, the break. Do we have anyone going? Is Bradley even going to go? What do we think? I don't know if Bradley's even going to go.
Actually, that's a good question. He's not had a good year.
I don't know.
He's had moments where he's been really good and stretches, but overall,
take it as like, camp. Have a week where you just like regroup. And maybe watch the dunk contest, and that's it. But yeah, I think that we need a break. That would be mentally good for the team.
Yeah, I think that would be great. KDot, any thoughts on the Wizards, or are you still fully in like NFL playoff mode right now?
I'm still fully in NFL playoff mode, especially after this last weekend. Who gives a fuck about anything else? But they
oh my god.
But I still think the Wizards overall is trying to figure out exactly who it is they are, and why is it that they play to a certain degree better with Brad Beal off the court. At least they play with more chemistry, it seems, than what I'm seeing when Brad Beal's on the court. Is it Spencer Dinwiddie's team? Why is Spencer Dinwiddie more of a team leader than Bradley Beal is when he doesn't have the same talent level?
Recently.
That's the thing. Dinwiddie, but that's the other thing is that Dinwiddie, if you're going, I said early on, I thought this was Dinwiddie's team. If that's the case, you're probably going to have some problems because he's limited in what he can do. You want somebody that has maybe a little more talent to be the vocal leader, especially when you have a Harrell on the court. I mean, right now to me, the sleeper MVP has been Kyle Kuzma. But it's just
not even sure it's much of a sleeper. I think he's just been
he's just been great.
Yeah.
I think that he's trying to find the balance where it's not these many loud or big personalities and big people that he's kind of coming into his own. So that's a good thing. But I still don't even know what this team is just now. I think that earlier in the season, you could see what it is we're capable of. And I think we're just trying to get back to that form.
Yeah. I'm looking up when the NBA trade deadline is because the rumors about Sabonis from the Pacers coming, which would be interesting. So February 10th, which is a week before All-Star break. And their thoughts Rui could go. Their thoughts Bertans could go. We really need to move Bertans because that was a bad deal. I mean, he's not even a 3 and D. He's
worst contract in the NBA.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So we'll see what happens there. But the Wizards need to, again, turn it around. And the next 3 games are tough. They're playing the Clippers at the time of this recording, the Grizzlies on Saturday, who we beat earlier this year, pretty handily, I'll add. And then we play at Milwaukee at the influential Giannis Antetokounmpo I was about to say Buccaneers. Even I'm in playoff mode. Bucks. Let's talk about the Caps.
1 second. Anytime that anybody says Wizards and kids together, the only thing I remember, if you haven't seen this video, you should Google it, when Gilbert Arenas breaks into Nick Young's house. If you've not seen that video, please watch that video and see what Gilbert Arenas does to Nick Young's kid. It's just, that sounds wrong. It's not as bad. It's bad, but it's not as bad as you think it is. It's pretty funny.
This is potentially polarized. This is a polarizing topic, but what are your thoughts on Gilbert Arenas?
I love him.
I love him too.
He's that, to be clear. So as a black dude, he's that uncle that comes to the barbecue that says the outlandish shit. If he's got a business venture, you say no. He's just like, yo, I got this great idea. All right, what's up, Gil? What you got? And you just like listen to him. And then he's great with spades. He's always got liquor in the car. Like, he's great. Small doses.
Small doses of, yeah. I mean, his Instagram posts are phenomenal every single time.
The him and Kwame thing. Him and Kwame back and forth. It's just,
we could probably do a whole episode on that 3 months late. But we could do a whole episode.
There's still new shit coming. You've seen, they're still going back and forth.
Are they?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I wasn't keeping up with it. Oh my gosh. What is going on? Okay, so now I'm looking at the Caps record. I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention. We're now in 4th in the Metro. I thought last I checked we were in 2nd. I know we lost to Vegas 1-0 the other night. Almost went to that game. Really glad I didn't. 1-0. Ugh. That's a bit of a bore. But yeah.
Sounds like soccer.
Except in hockey, there's so much more scoring. Anyway, 5 points off the top. New York Rangers are in 1st in the Metro. I think we'll be fine. I really do, because the Caps are too talented not to be, but in a bit of a slump here too. So DC sports, not exactly going great. The Washington football team desperately needs a quarterback. We've also got turmoil with the coaching staff. No one seems to believe in them in Washington with the football team. Caps 4th, BS. Wizards free falling. Who knows when that'll stop? Could be a 6-game losing streak. This isn't fun. This isn't fun, gentlemen. Any thoughts on the hockey team?
It'll be fine by the end.
Fine by the end. So not concerned. Still in playoff.
Playoff mode. I'm in NFL playoff mode, but I also know the Caps kind of went on a skid in early January, this month. Like, it's been a little rough right now, but it's a team that I know when push comes to shove, and they know what they need to do to get in the playoffs. They're veteran enough. They have a veteran presence as far as the coach. They'll be okay. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, just need to get into the tournament. Simple as that.
Ovechkin will lose another tooth and then just pull through.
And then we're going on a run. You look out. Look out if we do that. Last bit in the State of the Union, soccer updates. So DC United have sold Paul Arriola over to FC Dallas, and they got $2 million in return. That is a big deal, and arguably a bigger deal to the future of DC United. Kevin Paredes, the wonder boy himself, 18 years old, $7 million. He is off to Wolfsburg in Germany. So we talked about imports. Here's an export, a really young, talented American local going to Germany to continue to hone his craft. We wish both of them the best of luck. DC United look really undermanned. Season is right around the corner, but they have $9 million to work with now. We'll see what happens there. And then for the Washington Spirit, the good news just doesn't seem to stop coming. Michele Kang looks like she is going to finally be the owner of the Washington Spirit, which is a huge deal because Steve Baldwin was the owner that everyone seemed to hate. He seemed to do everything in his power to not sell the team to Michele Kang. And now it's finally come around that the way, the path has been cleared for Michele Kang to take over. So that's going to conclude the State of the Union, your DC Sports Wraparound coverage segment. And that's going to conclude the episode. This is District Divided, a DC Sports podcast. I am Amit. That is LC. That is KDot. It is good to see you all once again. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. If you want playoff talk, NFL playoff talk, tune in Friday. KDot and I do the Washington football team show where we're going to be talking about the NFL playoffs. Until then, see you next week. Peace.
Captain DCFC, it's called hyperbole, jackass, and you watched the whole episode, did you? Mission accomplished.
And there it is.